on Grace and Gavel. Part 1 is, can you love someone and still hold them accountable? Part 2 is why civic duty still matters. Those of you that don't know me, my name is Buffy. I'm a women's lifestyle creator on YouTube, TikTok, and Instagram. As well, I have 2 podcasts. One is Recovering Perfectionist Mama, Grace and Gavel. The second one is Grace and Gavel, Where Truth Meets Compassion, as I'm an almost 18-year criminal defense attorney. And both of them are housed under the same username as this one above. So for the first live, can you love someone and still hold them accountable? Let's talk about why there's temptation to make people all good or all bad. And that is truly not the case, because it's rarely that people are either all good or all bad. Now, there are exceptions, of course, but ultimately, most of us sometimes do things that we wouldn't normally do. We do things that we don't want to do and we regret doing, but ultimately no one is ever able to take things like that back. And so ultimately we have to realize and to understand that people make mistakes. People are who they are. And oftentimes we have to realize that part of being mature, part of growing up even, is the idea that maturity can mean holding complexity. It can mean realizing that certain people are flawed. And that doesn't make them bad people. It just means that it's maybe a weakness of theirs or something along that nature, but that doesn't make them evil people necessarily. And so I look a lot at my family members, and one of the ones that I look at is my grandfather, for instance. He had a lot of strengths. He didn't have a lot of formal education. I mean, he went to the 8th grade, but he was a very intelligent person. He was a very life smart, real world person who was able to read through people's intentions. He was able to be a really good judge of character. He was also really good at loving children. He loved all my cousins, and he loved my children. And he was really smart. He was a really good negotiator. He was a really good person who was really good about saving things and things like that. And he made do with what he had, and he worked very hard. A very hard worker. But did he sometimes get angry? Sometimes, sure. Did he sometimes do things that he probably shouldn't have done? Sure, because of his temper, sure. But he also had a kind heart, a loving heart, and he loved fiercely. Sometimes he didn't always do the right thing. He didn't always say the right things. He was a little rough around the edges, but he was a good person. And ultimately, he was one of my favorite people. And, he literally realized that his life wasn't perfect. He had flaws like we all do. And ultimately, I have flaws, we all have flaws, but he said that he had some regrets, and he did the best he could to be able to live with those in some way, to try to do better each day. And also, oftentimes we just owe people a little bit of grace and gratitude, not necessarily excusing anything, but just realizing that they're people, and people are messy. Who taught you that you can be both perfect and deeply loved? I think that's extremely important, because just because people are flawed doesn't mean that they're not worthy. It doesn't mean that they're not good people. We all make mistakes. We have to be willing to allow some grace to come into play. And let's talk about slide number 2, why civic duty still matters. Ultimately, if we want to be a part of a free nation, we need to look at voting as a necessity, as an imperative. Voting should be the gratitude that we give for living in the United States. And previous generations have sacrificed for women for the right to vote, for various minorities, for them to be able to vote. People lived and died for that. They worked hard to make sure that everyone had a voice in what happened in our country. And participation is huge, because honestly, if you're not participating, then you have no right to complain about anything. You know what I mean? And you need to be educated. Be an educated voter. Make sure that the person that you're voting for is doing what they say they're going to do, that they're who you think they are. Politics is stewardship. It's not a sport. Stewardship. It's paying it forward to the generation that comes behind you. Being a wise voter, doing your research, not just choosing what other people say, not just listening to what other people say, because a lot of people don't know anything about politics. They're not savvy voters. They're voters who listen to other people and are easily influenced, which can be extremely difficult. And we need to realize that we need to leave things better than how we found them for future generations. And ultimately, if I had to answer the question, what value did your grandparents pass down that still guides you today? Many values: hard work, compassion, kindness, a lot of things. Things that I'll never forget: love, encouragement, helping me through school. So ultimately, I just want to say thank you so much for tuning in today. And so let's do this. Innocent people panic too. One of the most dangerous assumptions in criminal investigation is this: if they were innocent, they would have acted differently. Would they? Let's investigate. Human beings imagine how they would respond under pressure. The problem: stress changes people, fear changes people, shock changes people, trauma changes people. People do strange things when they're frightened, including innocent people. Innocent people have fled scenes, forgotten details, contradicted themselves, delayed reporting, acted irrationally, not because they were guilty, but because they were human. The behavioral trap. The public often confuses unusual behavior with evidence, but behavior is context, not proof. And once assumptions form, they become difficult to challenge. The question isn't, did they act normally? The question is, what were they experiencing? Case remains open. Thank you so much for tuning into Grace and Gavel, where truth meets compassion. My name is Buffy. I'm an almost 18-year criminal defense attorney, and I hope that you enjoyed this. If you did, feel free to like and subscribe. Also know that this will be recorded, so you can check it out later if you like. And if you get value from it, please feel free to like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. Hope you have a great rest of your day. Bye-bye.